Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out. You're listening to the Affirmation Addict podcast with Pyle Corley. This podcast will teach you about the power of affirmations while making manifestation easy and accessible for you in order to enhance your spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much for being here, and now it's time to get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. My name is Pyle, and today we're doing things a little bit different. We are officially at the halfway point of the year, and I thought it would be really fun to just do a little bit of a guided ritual together. So if you're listening to this while you're driving or doing something else, you can totally answer these questions in your head and reflect in your head with me, or you can wait and pause and grab a journal or do it like on your phone and your notes app. So however you want to do it, but this is a little bit more of a reflective podcast rather than me talking at you. I want to take you through a little bit of a guided reflection, a little bit of a reset, just to kind of be intentional with how we continue forward through the rest of the year. I am sure I'm not alone in feeling that this year has flown by, as time always seems to fly by when you look back at it. Like during the year, there's been so many moments that have happened and so many things, but it also at the same time feels like January 1st was just a couple days ago. So that perspective of time, I'm always really fascinated, but also very triggered by the concept of time. And so I love using these date milestones to help myself reground, help myself check in, track progress, track growth, track shifts, track habits, all of it. I find it very, very helpful, and doing it in a non-judgy way. We are not comparing ourselves. We're not assigning any meanings. We're just reflecting. And I think that is the hardest part when it comes to setting these goals and milestones for just like life and through the year, because we tend to judge ourselves, assign meaning if we don't meet them, if we didn't get to where we want to be, if we dropped off on a habit that was super important to us. It can be very, very overwhelming, but I want us to use this as, okay, well, today's a new day, because I do firmly believe that like we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and dates on a calendar are literally just dates on a calendar. And if you go deeper into it, time is an illusion. It's a man-made creation. So the time doesn't matter as much. However, using it to our benefit to pause and reflect and be like, do I want to treat today like how everyone treats January 1st? Like it's a fresh new start. Like, do I want to treat the next 24 hours as my fresh new start? We literally can make that choice at any point. And it feels counterintuitive because we're so rigid with how we connect to our calendars, with how we connect to the days of the year, the months of the years. And we love knowing those types of things. But when we really look at it, one of the quotes that has stuck with me forever and has been coming up in conversation a lot. I remember I had a really close friend in third grade. We were in Girl Scouts together, and her mom, we kept talking, and I think her mom was trying to get us to like do our homework or something or do something. And we were like, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. And the mom, she was like, tomorrow never comes, because once it's tomorrow, it's not tomorrow. And she said it in that way, but there's so many quotes on tomorrow never actually comes. And I thought, I mean, it obviously made an impact because it stuck with me. And I was in third grade, meaning what? I was like 7, 8, 9 maybe at that point. So that's 20 years. And I think it was such a helpful realization to keep coming back to that quote and this time, because we always say, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it on January 1st. We'll do it at the halfway point through the year. But it's like, honestly, the only moment we have, the only measure of time that we ever really have is this moment. However we choose to act in it is honestly up to us. And it feels, trust me, if you're listening and the words I'm saying sound so out of reach and unrealistic, I completely understand, because I would say 6 months ago, I could not get myself to just like get up and do something. And I couldn't really break my patterns. It felt so like sticky, and I felt like I was just always in the lull. And honestly, in some areas of my life, I still feel that way. However, realizing that like time is an illusion and we always have a choice, and the moment is now, like, okay, I can set a timer for 5 minutes and get up and do it, but then listen to yourself and make that promise and keep that promise with yourself, and move forward. So it kind of goes into discipline, consistency, which has been a huge other area of my life, that I think I'm talking about next week, actually. And it has really helped me with just this entire year. So after that whole spiel, grab your journals or grab your phone or just grab really, really good listening ears as you're doing something and multitasking. Totally get it. I always am listening to a podcast when I'm driving. And I just have a couple of questions for us to work through, go through, and reflect through, keyword non-judgmentally, as we hit literally 6 months through the year. We have another 6 months to go. So whether or not this year has been amazing, has been low, has been scary, has been absolutely everything you wanted or absolutely nothing you wanted, literally use this as an opportunity to reset. However, when we reset, we're not ignoring the past, we're diving into the past too. I always take inventory and then move forward. So we're going to do that together. So the first question is, if you set a word or an intention for the year, what was it? And do you still resonate with it? How do you connect with it? Where are you at with it? So grab your journal, write about it. And I was actually, as I was writing these questions, I was thinking, I was like, I honestly don't remember my word for the year. I know I recorded it in a podcast episode. I know I talked about it on my Instagram, but like I didn't have, one, the desire to find it. Two, it obviously showed me that like I wasn't fully living by my word of the year, versus last year, my word of the year was truth. And it was very prominent and necessary for me, versus this year, I believe my word was consistency. I'm 99% sure. However, I don't remember it as clearly as I remember last year's. And it's okay if you don't remember your word. This is an opportunity to reset it. So I want you to revisit your word. Think about, do you like it? Do you still resonate with it? Does it feel completely different than what you want to do? Maybe you've already kind of achieved what you wanted to achieve with that word and you want to set a new one. However you feel, use this opportunity to think about the word, either reaffirm it, reset it, reclaim it, or pick a new word. And you can pause me, but I'll talk a little bit about my kind of reflection and answer to this, because I think it's always helpful to hear an example of how people answer questions. So for me, if I'm correct in that my word was consistency, progress on it, I think, has been pretty good. I think I have become the most consistent in some of the hardest areas of my life. I still have room to go, still have some consistency to fill, and to show up for. But I think what I learned through my consistency journey is like consistency for me was all about self-trust. If I'm being honest, and I didn't write this down on my journal, however, just thinking, I think the word I want to add to the rest of the year and almost dive deeper into is expression, because I feel like I've noticed that anything I'm not consistent with, it's when it comes to my self-expression and when it comes to me speaking my truth. I sometimes get nervous about that. So maybe I'm going to make it a little bit more specific and say my theme for the rest of the year is consistency and expression. Now, literally meaning what that means for me is consistency in showing up in my business, consistency in posting, consistency in serving, consistency in speaking my truth in my relationships, my friendships, my family, my husband, my conversations with myself, consistency in expressing how I'm really feeling, what's really on my mind. And just moving forward with that. I feel like I sometimes have held back, and even with myself. So I would love to continue being more consistent in that specific realm. So once you finish your answer, I'm going to start moving on to the next question. The next one is, what has gone well for you this year? Maybe make a list of 5 or 6 things. I'm a bullet point kind of girl when I'm journaling. So I would just make a few bullet points of what are things that have gone well for you this year. I think it is always so important to reflect. And if you are struggling to think about, you're like, nothing has gone well, go month by month, and just do January, February, March, April, May, June, and write one good thing, one good memory, one good realization, one good joyful cup of coffee you had, whatever it is. It can be as big or as small. But if you can't think of a way to answer that, if nothing feels like it went well, write out for each month one thing that you remember from that month. And if you're struggling to even remember that, one trick I do is I always look through my photos app or my calendar app to kind of remember what I was doing at this time last month or last year. So look through your photos through January, or look at what you did in your calendar in January and see how that was for you. I find that to be such a helpful way because I realize yes, the years go by really fast, but there's also a level of we have like very short term, like we forget things kind of easily also. Like we only remember certain milestones and we pick apart certain things. However, there's a lot of stuff that we probably forget. Like there's a lot of good, fun memories that I've completely forgotten about. But when like a picture pops up, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was such like a wholesome night and I loved it. So think about what has gone well for you this year. I think for me, some things that have gone well this year, and they actually do fall in the realm of consistency, is I feel like I had a really good relationship healing journey the first 6 months of this year, specifically with my adult friendships and my family. But my family's been pretty good recently. Like I haven't had any issues with my family. However, with my like adult friendships from all different areas, even if they're childhood friends, even if they're friends from high school, college, people I've met over the years through work, whatever it is, I feel like I've created really good cadence and really good like communication and meetups and just like healthy adult friendships that aren't super clingy, or you talk about it. And I feel like my adult friendships was one of the biggest things I didn't expect to be something that was going so well this year. And not gonna lie, like there was also some insane ups and downs with that, which I've talked about on the podcast. I've had a lot of altercations. However, I think it helped me in expressing like myself. And that kind of hints back at like the consistency and expression part. I always get a ton of questions in my DMs from people asking how I can manifest X. The truth is, you can really manifest anything as long as it's for the greatest good. And if you're having trouble manifesting something right now, or you feel stuck on your journey, I have a really beautiful resource I've made for you. It's a free quiz. It's called the Manifestation Archetype Quiz. And it's something that I've created so you can find out your manifestation style to give you more clarity on your spiritual journey. After taking the quiz, you're going to receive the best resources for your specific archetype to help you attract your desires based on where you're at and what you want to create. So you can find a link to the quiz in the show notes, or just head to my website at www.affirmation-addict.com. Other things that have gone well for me, we did a lot of travel this year already, which I'm very grateful for, and also shocked at the fact that I think this is the first year of my life where I'm like, I don't want to travel. I love being home. I love our house. I love being here, and not because I want to be home, but like I don't feel the need to escape. And I think for a very long time, honestly, up until Costa Rica, which was in February for us, travel used to be a form of escape. And I actually don't know if I ever talked about this on the podcast. I'm totally going on a tangent. But when we went to Costa Rica, I had like one of the biggest anxiety attacks, panic attacks I'd ever had. Because we landed in Costa Rica. We were going to be there for 2 weeks. The second we checked into our hotel, I was like, I want to go home. And I've never experienced that. Like we were in a beautiful place. It was just me and Tom. Like I had never felt that. And I think it was my body telling me, you were using this trip as an escape and there's no escaping. Like literally this trip will not be your escape. You were here to face your feelings. And I had to face some really, really tough stuff. And I learned that I used travel as an escape for a really long time. I thought travel would kind of give me good content to post about, would be fun because everyone likes traveling. Who doesn't like traveling, right? Like that is the narrative. But I was like, do I actually like traveling? Like I tend to get stressed when I'm like planning trips now. I used to like planning trips, but like now I get stressed because like I want a really nice hotel and I want to like have all of these things. And sometimes I just don't want to plan for it. Like I was like, why do I actually not traveling that much? I think it's because I actually don't enjoy that part of it. And maybe that's going to change again at some point, but like I'm always down to travel. Like it's fun to get up and go. It's easy for us to get up and go. We have no kids. We have that flexibility. But it was such a big realization that like I have spent so much of my life using travel as a means to escape. So I would always manifest travel and have all these places on my vision board. And now I'm like, if I never saw, I love seeing the world and I think there's so much value, but the realization that if I like never saw any other places of the world, like I would be content because I know that like everything I'm looking for is within me. It was a very like profound experience for one of the things because travel is one of those things that like you can't, I don't know, you can't replicate in your head necessarily. Like you got to be there to experience it. Like you have to be like at Machu Picchu to experience like the elevation and look down on Machu Picchu and see the llamas, right? Like you can watch all these videos, but it is different when you're there. And I love the energy shift of travel. But I think for my entire life, I was traveling, my entire adult life, I was traveling for mostly the wrong reasons. And I'm redefining what my personal version of travel looks like. That was such a long answer. I hope at this point you're done journaling. Moving on to the next question is what has been unexpected so far this year? This could be what didn't go well for you this year, what surprised you this year. It can be a culmination, but I didn't want to only prompt for what didn't go well, but what was just unexpected. Take a couple minutes. I would say the travel thing for me was a very unexpected thing, as well as some of the stuff that I had to release that I didn't know that I was going to have to come to face with was myself. I think this year was the year where I feel like I surrendered to the fact that like nothing outside of me is going to give me what I'm looking for. Nothing outside of me is going to fulfill me no matter how much I manifest it. And this year has unexpectedly been the most time I've ever spent with myself, for better, for more emotions, for worse, but not really for worse. It's always good. But it was very triggering for me. And it has been very triggering for me because I feel like this year, the most unexpected and kind of heavy thing I've had to do is come face to face with myself and acknowledge like there is so much I still have to work on. I still have so much room for improvement, like we all do. And that's the point of a never ending journey. Like that's the point of the spiritual journey. You're focusing on manifestation, but it goes so much deeper. And I know a lot of you who listen already know this. So, what has been your unexpected this year? For me, it was how much self doubt came up, how much like deep, like existential self doubt came up. Like, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I here? What is going on? And what's the purpose? Like, I was questioning everything this year multiple times, almost constantly. And it brought so much to the surface in the best way. So I wouldn't change it for the world. But talk about what was unexpected for better, for more heart opening, for more healing. What all did you experience that was unexpected? Okay, moving on to the next question. I want you to think about how you want the next 6 months to go. You don't have to write just yet, but just close your eyes and think about what would the next 6 months look like for me in my most ideal scenario. If I could narrate it and had a magic wand, how would the next 6 months of 2024 look like before I step into 2025? What would that look like for me? What would that feel like for me? What would that experience be? Because I think it's so important to realize that like the world is literally your oyster. You can create whatever you want. And sometimes if we don't take out time to do it, life kind of passes by very quickly. So pausing to say, okay, if it was up to me, what would the next 6 months look like? So close your eyes with me. And I want you to imagine it is December 31st, 2024. We are about to head into 2025, and you are just reflecting on the year. You kind of already know what January through June looks like, but now you're going through July, August, September, October, November, and December. What did that part of the year look like? What unfolds? How do you feel? How is life? And now that you're sitting at December 31st, what does that life look like? What is your ideal day? What is your day that is your ideal? What has manifested? What have you learned? And just think about that for a second. And now I want you to open your eyes and we're going to write a little bit of a script as if it is December 31st, 2024. So at the top of your paper or your notes, and honestly, I label my scripts just because it helps me know. So I'll literally write script. And then I say, today is December 31st, 2024. And then you just go. And you can reflect on the past entire year, or you can write a story about every single month and what all has manifested, what all good things have come, how life has surprised you, and your pick on if you want to include January through June and highlight some of those good things that you already know are there to kind of add some validity. But I invite you to take 5 minutes, pause me, and write out in present tense or past tense. Because we're kind of thinking, hey, it's December 31st, think of it like a journal entry, as if you're just like, today is December 31st, and January was a really good month because I was able to set my intentions and I got a random raise. February was really nice because I felt like I was so balanced in my relationships, and it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be like a how chronologically sound story. You're just allowing your mind to stretch and be creative and thinking about what is it that I actually want. There's no right or wrong with this. Always just try and focus on what good happened. So focus on what are the things that you wanted to manifest. Have they manifested this year? Like, for example, say you're manifesting a new job. You can say, I finally received my new job. I got a job offer. It was such an easy process. And I love my new boss. I love the company I work at. And it's been filled with so many amazing surprises and miracles. Like, just let it be overly good, or have fun with it and get creative with how things are manifesting, but don't attach to them. Just let your mind go. Your subconscious mind knows where to go. So script as if it's December 31st, 2024, and you're reflecting on the past year, focusing in on these last 6 months. What is it that you want to manifest these last 6 months? And seriously, spend the next 10 minutes doing this. And I think it's one of the most underrated spiritual manifestation tools is writing a script and noticing how much of it does manifest. I will not lie. Every single script I've ever written, maybe not in the exact timeline I'm planning on it, but at some point or the other, it has come like eerily true. So that is why I'm so obsessed with journaling in general, because I think it's literally a magic wand. So have fun with your script. And once you're done, keep it somewhere safe so that you can revisit it at the end of the year, and let yourself revisit it. So I hope you take your time through this guided ritual. Thank you for listening to my little side stories as well. But take your time. Don't skip over this. Don't kind of half-heartedly do it. Really try and put your energy into it. Set aside 30 minutes. Go through these questions with me and let yourself feel reignited, re-inspired for the rest of 2024. I wish you the best. I'm so grateful for you being here, and thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions or anything, always DM me. I love chatting in the DMs. And also, if you have a couple minutes, just leaving an honest review goes a long way. I don't do sponsorship ads and stuff on my podcast, so this helps me kind of keep continuing to create content for you. So I love you. Enjoy the rest of your 2024. And I mean, I'll see you next week, but just theoretically speaking. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If this episode resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast and share it on your social media so I know to keep creating episodes that are inspiring you to manifest. I'm so genuinely grateful for the time we shared today, and I'd love for you to join the community by following @Affirmation Addict on Instagram. To continue diving into spirituality and manifestation, head over to my website, affirmation-addict.com. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love and so much healing energy.